can play guitar. Just look at me. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see. First I grab myself a chord, working from the sky to the ground. Then I grab another chord to make a good sound. Then I work another chord for what's called a turnaround. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Now if you bought that game, you plug in the TV, you know the one that makes you look like a player like me. Remember, TVs are for movies and news. Just watch me. You'll learn how to play the blues. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see.
Hey everybody, hey out there in Guitar Land. Let me tell you a little story. I went out to Oxnard in 2018 of May to the Strawberry Festival. I had a little strawberry wine and all that stuff. There was great food, more cooking done by the bands than the people that were cooking the food. Okay, you got that? So if you ever heard of Rock City, they sponsor some of these events. You go up there, there's Rock City available up in there in Oxnard and Ventura County. So what really caught my attention when I was walking around eating a hot dog and drinking wine was the Danielle Stacy Band. Now, Danielle Stacy plays guitar and vocal. Devin Johnson does bass guitar and vocals. Danielle Konevsky plays drums. And when I saw him play one song, I said, hey, let me pull my camera out and take a picture of him. I'm here for that anyway. I'm not here to drink wine all the time. So, quickly pulled out my camera and caught them on another song. I found out that Danielle Stacy was winner of Ventura County's Best Female Artist of the Year 2017. Doesn't she look like a Playgirl model or something? Okay, listen to this. Danielle Stacy brings R&B, pop, and everything in between. She has made waves on the music scene and continues to branch out. Hey, she has a voice. She makes herself noticed. So here she is with Always Comes Back.
Okay, let's do it.
He won't
Now you can check her out on YouTube for more songs if you like them. Hey, don't forget, anybody can play guitar? Check out Danielle Stacy. She's good. See you next time. Don't forget, anybody can play guitar?
Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see. First I grab myself a chord, working from the sky to the ground. Then I grab another chord to make a good sound. Then I work another chord for what's called a turnaround. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Now if you bought that game, you're plugging the TV, you know the one that makes you look like a player like me. Remember, TVs are for movies and news. Just watch me. You'll learn how to play the blues. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see. By the way, the music spirit lingers. You want to learn how to work your fingers. If you're interested, patience is a key. You'll play guitar just like me. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see.
Okay, how'd you like that? Hey, we got another surprise for you guitar players out there. A guy you never think of. Very few people out there really realize he ever existed. He was like the Jimi Hendrix plus from the 1800s. His name was Jules Regondi. Okay, he was an important representative of the romantic guitar. Even his childhood sounds like it was invented by Charles Dickens. Born in Geneva in 1822, his mother died at birth, and so a man raised him, posing as his father. Without ever knowing if they was really connected by blood ties, he was helplessly chained to him for many years. Giuseppe, or so his name, had decided early on to turn Giulio into a prodigy with whom he could earn a lot of money. He relentlessly drove him to the guitar, locked him up in his room during the day where, supervised by a grumpy neighbor, he had to practice the same finger exercises for hours. Okay? How's that sound? Wouldn't you be a prodigy if that happened to you? So he was able to put Giulio on stage at the age of 5, big 5, and present his prodigy to an astonished audience. Now, to make more money from his son, they broke up their tents in Lyon and they went and tried their luck in Paris. Within a very short time, the little boy had a resounding success here as well. He was invited to the most important concert halls, was very well received by critics and audiences, and even Niccolo Paganini and Franz Liszt became interested in the boy. Also in the circle of guitar lovers, one was enchanted by his appearance. Fernando Sor, who was fond of the infant Paganini with a paternal affection, dedicated his fantasy Souvenir di Amiti, Opus 46, to the 8-year-old Jules Rigondi. But his father still didn't have enough. In search of new sources of income, he was drawn across the canal, and in May 1831, they arrived in London, one of the leading music capitals of the time. I'd say they had a jolly good time in London, where the boy was fantastic. So, Giulio made his appearance here with Katharina Josepha Pelzer, another prodigy, who later became the doyen of the Victorian guitar world as Madame Sidney Pratton. I have to mention that she had a sister named Julia. Yes, that's right, Julia Pelzer. Julia Pelzer, that's her right there. To make a long story short, Julia Pelzer was one of the silent friends, but later became one of the big shots. I say. When Rigondi played alone, his chair was sometimes placed on the piano. All this was arranged by a father who wanted to draw even more attention to his boy. Of course, the audience was enthusiastic about these performances, and the press praised them. Even in the Buckingham Palace, the reputation of this wonder boy penetrated, and so he was finally allowed to play before the Queen, who, like the whole world, was enchanted by the meanwhile 8-year-old. That's him right there, that little guy with that guitar right there. That's him. Okay, now I'm going to read something here, and it's going to be like this. I say, don't I look like a bloody Englishman? Hey, there is a stream of positive reviews in the English press that has made its name known to the far corners of the British Isles. That may be my birthplace. Another child prodigy, a real Paganini, the infant Paganini, a kid playing the guitar. A journalist found out that this musical phenomenon had first appeared in London at the tender age of 8. Even the Figaro and Le Journal des Débats speak enthusiastically of him. They say that in addition to a virtuosity that can normally be acquired in no less than 20 years of work, the young man who plays with confidence does not lack the skill and feeling of a mature artist. Apparently, even at this age, it was the beginnings of real artistry that earned him such praise, even more than his virtuosity. The Spectator, another journalist, wrote, however, this is the mechanical and therefore the least important and interesting aspect of his playing. It is well known how much he can be achieved with the help of untiring teaching with a docile child. But no one who observes this engaging little being, who sees the change his face undergoes while playing, how he enjoys making music with childlike simplicity, can overlook that nature has given him much more than a flexible temperament and a strong hand. As he plays, his beautiful face takes on the expression of a mature man, and it is impossible not to see that he permeates everything he plays with his feeling. Carried by a wave of enthusiasm, father and son now traveled the entire kingdom and were celebrated with furnaces everywhere. Now the father should have finally reached the goal of his dreams, because one day he handed the child a 5-pound note and fled with all the rest of their money, allegedly several thousand pounds sterling. He left the 12-year-old boy alone in the world, perhaps hoping that good-natured people and music lovers would take care of this little genius. Left alone, Giulio fell into deep despair, something like having the blues. But through the maternal care of friends and a loving foster family, he managed to overcome this trauma. The child prodigy became a young man who succeeded in transforming his suffering into music, and who continued to conquer people's hearts at acclaimed concerts throughout Europe. Now, already in 1840, we see him again on a successful concert tour on the mainland. Together with the cellist Joseph Liddell, he played in Munich, Frankfurt, Leipzig, and Prague. In the latter city, he also took part in a charity event organized by Clara Schumann for the benefit of individual orchestra members. When he was in Vienna for a series of concerts, he also got to know the guitarist of Johann Anton, what was his name, Stauffer. Enthusiastic about their sound, he bought an 8-string guitar, which became one of his favorite instruments from then on. Okay, here we go with the Allgemeine Musikalisches Zeitung Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious wrote, now I was just being funny there, wrote about his concerts in Vienna. Regandi plays guitar and mellophone in a truly masterfully way and sings on the latter instrument with a truly enchanting sweetness and indescribable tenderness. The solo movements performed were on the guitar, Souvenir des Gobelins after Thalberg, and the overture of another name, which I can't pronounce here, sorry, full-bodied, as if by the whole orchestra. It is interesting that Regandi is not only seen as a guitar virtuoso, but also a master on the mellophone. In reality, this was a concertina, a newly developed instrument that is hardly known today. Now, I earlier mentioned that Madame Pratt had a sister named Julia, and she was a practitioner on the concertina. If you want to show her picture there, that's Julia right there. Oh, good old Julia, my friend Julia. Regandi met the concertina as early as 1831. With the same obsession as with the guitar, his father urged him to master this instrument. He quickly developed a phenomenal technique and succeeded in performing the most difficult works originally composed for violin or other instruments. He collaborated with the sister of Madame Pratten, another famed representative of the guitar on playing the concertina and guitar. She was a big representative. She wrote books. They don't mention her much. If you look her up, you only get one picture and very little history. But just do some research on Julia Pelzer. Okay, now getting back to Regandi, he himself wrote some works for them, including 2 concerts and a textbook. And it was thanks to his work that its instrument became increasingly popular. He himself wrote some works for them, including 2 concerts and a textbook. And it was thanks to his work that this instrument became increasingly popular, much to the delight of its inventor, Sir Charles Wheatstone, who was later to become one of the most influential patrons of Jules Regondy. Okay. Gigolo Regondy, huh? I bet he had a little fun back then, just like Jimi Hendrix. Though his tireless work for this instrument, okay. I wonder what Jimi Hendrix would say about him. Okay, ready? Through his tireless work for this instrument, Regondy is also known as the great concertina virtuoso of the 19th century. Around 1850, Regondy seems to have finally put his guitar aside to devote himself exclusively to the concertina. He continued his concert activities for another 10 years, concentrating mainly on the city of London. I say, jolly old London, aye. After this time, he retired into private life and died on May 6, 1872, only 49 years old, after a long illness with cancer. His bones rest in St. Mary's Cathedral Cemetery in Kensal. Okay, second time around with this one. He continued his concert activities for another 10 years, concentrating mainly on the city of London and its surroundings. I say, London, that is the place. I say, that is the place, London. After this time, he retired into private life and died on May 6, 1872, only 49 years old, after a long illness with cancer. His bones rest in St. Mary's Cathedral Cemetery in Kensal. Regondy's work for a guitar is not very extensive, but it shows the artistic value of guitar music at the height of Romanticism. It is characterized by daring harmonic progressions and vocal melodies and requires a high degree of virtuosity. If you see somebody in YouTube playing a Regondy piece, you'll see what these words are describing. Unfortunately, it was long forgotten and was only rediscovered in the 80s of the 20th century. But since then, it has secured a firm place in the programs of the leading interpreters and is performed and re-recorded again and again. In 1990, 10 etudes were published, most probably written by him and discovered by the American musicologist Matanya Ofi in Moscow. Here's what this person said. These etudes are really excellent examples of romantic writing for the guitar, rich in harmony and inner structure, seductive. Okay, once again, here's what this writer said. Here's what this writer said. These etudes are really excellent examples of romantic writing for the guitar, rich in harmony and inner structure, seductive in melody. They put Regondy on the list of the best composers for the guitar. Many of these works could easily be confused with a creation by Liszt, Franz Liszt, piano player, speed demon himself. And it is obvious that he made little concessions for the difficulty of the guitar. Now here's another difficult person. His name is Zani di Ferrante, Mario Aurelio Zani di Ferrante. He's got his picture there, that's him. That's him, another speed demon, another Paganini student. He played with Paganini. He started off on violin. You haven't heard of him either, huh? Well, he was a violin student for Paganini until he saw Paganini played guitar. And then after that, hey, he started jacking around on Paganini's guitar and jamming on it and everything. And he just had to play guitar the rest of his life. Another speed demon. He started with Paganini at age 14, trying to play violin. And since he was not so great at it, he just became somewhat of a prodigy on guitar. So we might take him next. His name is Mario Aurelio Zani di Ferrante. Him and Jules Regondy and all those, they knew each other back then. Hey, I hope you like listen to all this stuff. Try to look that up for yourself. It's always best that if you want to learn something about your music, like I told you, learn this, learn to manipulate all these notes, play the blues faster, learn to play blues faster on Anybody Can Play Guitar. Learn things your friends, your musician friends won't tell you on Anybody Can Play Guitar. Don't forget, Anybody Can Play Guitar. We'll see you next time, maybe with somebody new.
Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Anybody can play guitar. Just look at me. Don't believe what I say. Just watch me and see. First I grab myself a chord.